1, 2. All right, let's see here. Checking 1, 2. Can you all hear us? Give me thumbs up in the chat here.
Check 1.
Check 1. Check 2.
Check.
There we go. All right, we're back and we're going. Here we go.
Okay.
Right. Welcome everybody to the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We have a great show in store for you, and we got a great guest with us this morning as well. So super excited. Got a lot to get through.
We do. So I apologize for the technical issue. Not sure exactly what happened. Nonetheless, we do have a special guest with us this morning whose accolades are many. He is the former 6-time X Division champion. He is a former TNA World Tag Team champion, longest reigning Ring of Honor World Champion, longest reigning Ring of Honor World Television Champion, Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion, Ring of Honor Pure Champion. That makes him the only Ring of Honor Grand Slam winner in history. Jay Lethal, everybody. Jay, how we doing?
I wish we had a clap. We need a clapping soundbite.
Well, what an intro. After all those things you listed, I still think I got some big shoes to fill. You guys interviewed Tully Blanchard for crying out loud. This one's going to be tough.
No, I'm just as excited about this. I've been looking forward to this for weeks. So, you know what? I wasn't going to do this.
Uh-oh.
But I'm going to. I got to do the cheesy bell. It
means it's time to start.
It's apropos.
Right.
So, we don't have a ton of time, like Cole mentioned, so we're just going to jump in and just chat a little bit.
Okay.
We, like I mentioned on our social media platforms, we are going to be doing some giveaways this morning, so just stick around, hang out with us for a while, and we'll see what happens. So, let's just do this. We're going to jump right into the current state of affairs, if you will. So, just kind of addressing the elephant in the room, I guess some of the more unfortunate news that has come out recently with Ring of Honor doing a reboot, taking a break the first quarter of 2022. Jay, can you tell us a little bit about how and when you first heard the news and, who broke the news to you, I guess?
Well, they had a big Zoom meeting. We would have these quite regular Zoom meetings where, they'd let us know what was going on with the protocols, and because they did such a great job of trying as hard as they could to the best of their ability to protect everyone when we would come to the shows. Remember, we had the Ring of Honor bubble, and we got tested so many times, and you couldn't leave your room. And sometimes it was fun and entertaining, and other times it was just a big drag. But so we'd have these meetings on Zoom going over protocols and stuff. So it just was like a normal meeting, just scheduled for a normal meeting. We're about to have some tapings coming up, so we all had this meeting, and near the tail end of the meeting, they dropped a big bomb.
Oh, so it was at the end of the meeting
on everyone, and it definitely terrified, rightfully so, a lot of people. I know I don't want to mention any of them by name, but there are some
Sure.
people who recently moved and bought houses, and some people have families, and it was pretty tough. That bomb they dropped on us, but that's how we found out. There was a Zoom meeting, which we'd had plenty of them before, getting ready for another set of tapings. Guys, how's everybody feeling? Oh, by the way, this is happening.
So it was at the end of the Zoom call.
Pretty much towards the end, yeah.
Wow.
But I don't know. There's, hindsight's 2020. Could they have waited till we got there to have the meeting? They wanted to let us know as soon as possible.
Sure.
And they, like I said, they've always taken great care of us. So, and no matter how they would have done it, whether it was getting us all in the same place or sending us a letter or calling everybody individually, no matter how they did it, it still would have affected everybody the same.
Right.
It still would have been very somber, sad moments for a lot of people, a lot of panic. Some people, there was no easy way to do it. So I think that they did as best as they could.
Yeah, for sure.
No, like you said, hindsight's 2020. It's one of those things where, it's so easy to say, well, maybe we should have handled it this way or handled it that way. But it's like, at the same time, I can kind of get behind the whole, kind of waiting until the end, because if you just throw the bomb on them at the beginning of the Zoom call, no one else is going to be oh, by the way, we've got, tapings. Here's the schedule. Here's what that's going to look like. All of that's going to go in
Correct.
one ear and out the other. So, no, I mean, that makes sense,
Correct.
I guess. So,
Yeah. And like I said, I can't think of a single way they could have done it where it would have been like, man, that's how you do that.
Right.
That's how you
yeah.
let everybody know that they're not going to have a job in January. There's no way to, there was no like perfect way to do it. So, I mean, to get everybody together on a Zoom call as soon as possible, to me, I think that was one of the best ways.
No, for sure. So, Cole and I have discussed this a little bit. The rumor online, the wrestling dirt sheets and all that, which, by the way, guys, we're not a dirt podcast. We're not trying to be dramatic or anything like that. That's not us. So if you're here for that, we're not the podcast for you. Just throwing that out there. But I will say the rumor online has been that that this might not be a reboot at all, that it could be Ring of Honor closing its doors. Can you shed any more light on specifically what maybe you've been told the situation is like, if the plan really is for there to be a reboot?
Go
ahead.
I can shed a lot of light on this situation because I know just as much as you.
Gotcha.
Literally, we haven't. I mean, that's all we've been told was, they're planning on running a show in April, Super Card of Honor.
Okay.
I think that's around WrestleMania weekend.
Yep.
I think that's on the internet already. And they may have shows after that. There'll definitely be no shows before that. And they're reimagining or trying to figure out a different way to get it all to work. I really, that's as much as we were told, and that's as much as anybody really knows, or that's as much information that they were willing to give. And I promise, if I knew more, I'd have no problem sharing it, especially since, after that bomb was dropped, I think there's a lot of people willing to speak. But yeah, I don't know any information on it. That's as much as I know. They're going to have Super Card of Honor, possibly. And I think there's a chance that Super Card of Honor may not even happen. Who knows?
Has there been a location announced for that yet that you know of, or?
No, but I can only imagine that it'd be wherever WrestleMania is going to be. So Texas.
I got you.
Super Card of Honor always revolved around, well, most of the time revolved around that WrestleMania weekend. So it has to be in Texas somewhere.
For sure. I guess I'm just having a brain lapse. That G1 Supercard that was in New York, what time of the year was that?
That was WrestleMania weekend.
Okay. And that was when WrestleMania was in New York?
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I thought that fell on a different year, but there's so much wrestling content out there. It's just hard to keep track with everything.
And I get hit in the head a lot, but so maybe I'm wrong, but I could have swore that was WrestleMania weekend.
No, you're probably right.
Okay.
So with all this news of ROH kind of shifting gears, however they are doing that leaves a lot of open-ended questions, obviously. One of which I want to say this. First off, kudos to them throughout the pandemic, not laying off anybody.
100%.
Not kicking anybody out the door, not shutting down, and making sure that there was a place for wrestlers to still be at and have a job during the pandemic. So we have a lot of respect for them. So by no means are we like trying to speculate anything about them. But my question to you is one, ROH has like one of the most underrated rosters I think I've ever seen. Like when we started to look at it, I think 2 weeks ago or a week ago, and we started just naming off people, and we're like, man, there's so much talent that's on this roster that I really believe that it's not going to be very difficult for some of these people to find a new landing spot, which brings me to you, one of the most talented guys on the roster. We're kind of curious. Do you have a destination in mind? Do you have people you want to work with? What does it look like for Jay Lethal as far as how you look at this situation for you?
Well, Cole, I will say thank you for the kind words. They mean a lot. And also, not to diminish anything that Ring of Honor has done. They took great care of all of us during the pandemic, kept us safe, didn't fire anybody, like you said. Like I said, not to diminish anything they've done, but there's a lot of companies out there who did the same thing. There's a lot of companies out there who, as best as they could, took care of their talent. As best they could, didn't fire or release anybody other than WWE.
Right.
But so my hat's off to every promotion out there who was able to do that same thing. The pandemic for a professional wrestler is still going on, and it was and is the scariest moment of all of our lives, our livelihood. This pandemic could have ended wrestling for the foreseeable future, which is a terrifying thought.
Yeah.
For not only all the guys on the Ring of Honor roster, but myself included. If I can't wrestle, I don't know what else I would do. And it's a scary, scary thought. Right now, I have a professional wrestling school in St. Petersburg, Florida. So, that's kind of like, my backup to the backup. If, I can at least train people. I can always be involved in wrestling somehow. But if that pandemic, was any worse than what it was, it could have even ended that. And what a terrifying thought. So, yeah, my heart goes out, and thank all the other companies out there who took great care, and there's plenty of them, took great care of their wrestlers and their roster. And as for me, I would love to end up anywhere on television. I just want to wrestle. You know what I mean? If I can't wrestle, it's like me not being able to breathe. And, with being under the Ring of Honor contract, I was not able to do some of what got everybody to the dance, and that's
Sure.
indie wrestling, which is alive and well, and they're fighting through the pandemic. So luckily, I'm able to now do a lot of those. I've got so many indie bookings, dates for, the independent wrestling shows that I'm super excited about, because that's how we all started on these indie shows. So, like, I'm getting a chance to do that. And as far as where I'll end up, I will, whoever will have me, right? I just want to be, in front of the people doing what I have dreamt of doing since I was like 11 years old.
Now, you don't necessarily have to name drop anybody, but have there been any phone calls? Have there been any conversations thus far from any other companies, or is it still kind of fresh and new?
Okay, I'm not at the moment, and here's why I think, and it's just the reality of the landscape of wrestling right now. There's so many free agents, which means the market is, would you say the market is saturated right now? Because there's so many. It's not like, a few people got let go from the Ring of Honor contract, or a few people got let go from WWE or this company or that company. So there's like a massive amount of free agents.
Right.
And we're all vying for a spot. So yeah, to answer your question, no, there's been no real talks yet.
So, guys, support independent wrestling, please. There are so many. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how many. It's almost become a cliche at this point, but how many 5-star matches that are just missed out on because they're not on TV, because they're not on YouTube, they're not taped. They're not broadcasted live. So if you guys have any opportunity to support local independent wrestling, go do it. I mean, you'll see guys like Flair-Lethal. You'll see guys like Brian Cage. He just won an Indies World Championship recently. So you'll see some really talented guys, even guys that are making their way up in the ranks of wrestling. So go support your indie shows, please, and you might be looking at the next champion of a major organization and not know it. So
100%. 100%.
So let's say you held all the cards. Let's say everything was 100% up to you. It was completely 100% Flair-Lethal's call. Over the next 4 to 5 months, as it relates to your wrestling career, where would you like to end up? Could we see a Royal Rumble appearance? Could we see a surprise debut on AEW? Could we see a return to Impact Wrestling? Would you want to stay with Ring of Honor?
So, it's so hard to answer that question, because literally everything you said, I wanted to say, yep. Royal Rumble, who wouldn't want to be in the Royal Rumble?
Right.
Yep. AEW, who wouldn't want to be there? Yep. Impact Wrestling, oh man, I grew up there. Who wouldn't want to return there? Yep. It's like the sky's the limit. My brain kind of like gets flustered with all the ideas, and if I'm holding all the cards and I can pick, oh my God, my brain's gonna explode. I don't know if you noticed, but throughout my career, I have never, and I mean never, set a goal for myself. I never said, I am going to work hard and work with Ric Flair someday. I've never set that goal. It kind of just happened. I never set a goal to become friends with Kevin Nash or wrestle Kurt Angle live on pay-per-view. I never set a goal. And it's crazy to think, but while I was there, I never said I'm going to be the Ring of Honor World Champion. That's my goal. I'm going to work as hard as I can to become the Ring of Honor World Champion. Never set that goal. It just, I take it one day at a time. It kind of just happened. Longest reigning Ring of Honor television champion. Never set that goal to be known as the face of the company, recognized around the world for its actual wrestling. Man. So, I always make this joke with some of my friends. If I start setting goals now, totally jinx myself, and they'll just never come true. So I'm terrified to do that. And I hope that doesn't feel like or seem like I'm dancing around the question.
No, not at all.
Like, if I had the cards, could I be the tie that binds them all? Could I be like, there's that forbidden door. If I had the card, I would be the linking forbidden door for all of those companies, for WWE, for AEW, for Impact, for Ring of Honor reboot. Like that. If I had the cards, that's what I would want to do.
That is the best answer anyone could have ever given.
So basically, what you're saying is because you don't set goals, we could see you win the Royal Rumble at this point because it just seems like the craziest thing could happen by not setting the goal.
Correct.
Because we're going to be sitting pretty much front row at Royal Rumble, and
It's not front.
Is that right?
It's not.
We're basically
It's
there.
not front row.
I've already decided I'm jumping the guardrail and entering the Royal Rumble. So it's happening. So if you're not in there, I will be. But regardless, speaking of WWE,
how much would someone have to pay you to hop the guardrail?
Listen, Jay.
An honest question.
Jay's given serious consideration to this.
If you are asking for you, I will literally do it for you to just give me a lethal injection. All right? Like, I don't even need payment.
What is happening right now?
You have seen videos and clips of what happens to people when they hop that guardrail. It becomes like free reign.
Yeah, my goal would be to just throw the plans completely off. Like the number one person that's like bidded to be like the winner, I want to throw them over. So they're out of the thing and it just ruins the plans and we have to get creative again.
Oh my goodness. You've seen that clip of that person who kind of like rushed Bret Hart, right? That wasn't even at a show.
Yeah, I'm going to go for someone that they don't like as much, like maybe Baron Corbin or, someone like that, to where they're like, yeah, please throw him over, like I might get cheered,
Got it. I think
and
that's a good strategy.
It's like the Santino Marella thing. I want to be out of the crowd. People don't even think I'm really a wrestler, and then next thing you know, I got like $1 million contract, and I can't even wrestle.
You're walking in the podcast with the Intercontinental Championship. It's like, oh,
I'll be 24/7 champion like that.
I promise you
start some kind of GoFundMe or Cole
for my bailout.
You're spending the night in jail, and I'm not bailing you out.
Oh man. Well, anyway, speaking of WWE, I've always been curious. I came across you back in the what we'd probably call the early Impact NWA days.
NWA TNA.
Yeah, TNA.
Well, it was NWA at that point, but. Yeah.
But I've always enjoyed your character and the different shifts of your character. And there's always the fan in me that at that point in time, the big dog was WWE. I mean, I guess now we could have the argument of who's who now because there's so many companies. But back then, it felt like WWE was the big dog. But Impact was or TNA individually was giving them a run for their money, in my opinion. And so there was always a part of me that wanted to see you in WWE. Was that ever like something that was an option back then? Like, did you ever have talks and whatnot? Was there ever a tryout? Because I can't find anything online where it says that you've had those opportunities, but I would be shocked if you hadn't.
Okay, so first I'll touch on Impact giving them a run for their money. That is an understatement. We had when Kurt Angle came there and we started. Well, I say we. I didn't have any part of it. I was just a wrestler in the company. But when Kurt Angle came and started that program with Samoa Joe, that was like the peak. I mean, we had guys like AJ Styles was there, and him and Joe and Daniels, Christopher Daniels had that classic triple threat that really put them on the map hardcore. But when Kurt Angle came and went into that feud with Samoa Joe, that was like the peak. And I believe that we even did live head-to-head with Monday Night Raw, I think. I don't know if it always worked out in Impact's favor, but you're right. The roster they had and the talent and the product they were putting out was hardcore, giving WWE a run for their money. And I was just super excited to say that I had something to do with it. I was on the roster. I wasn't in those main events getting all those views, but I was super excited to say that I worked for the company at that time. So yeah, there's kudos to that. But also to answer your question, at the time of signing my third contract with Impact Wrestling, there was a brief talk with the talent relations person at WWE, but it never worked out because, the 3 times that I talked to them, I've always been under contract, and it could never go past hello and goodbye. So it's always been a big timing thing. And plus, I'm a very loyal person. So, once I was at Impact for a certain amount of time, my dad never wanted me to be the person that gets sold to the highest bidder. He's like, man, if they're treating you well, why would you leave them? So and I would have been in Impact Wrestling. Who knows? I may still be at Impact Wrestling if they didn't get rid of me. I don't know if many people know this, but they actually released me from my contract right after I did the Ric Flair thing, which I thought I hit a home run.
Oh, you did?
I guess not.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
No, I mean,
I did.
No, I disagree. I think there was just some, I'm not even going to open up that can of worms or get on that soapbox because I could go off on that. I'm not going to though. So, we're going to transition shortly into a bit of nostalgia, if you will. But
okay.
But before we do, we're going to have the first of our giveaways. So, if you want to be entered to win our first giveaway of the morning, please reply on the chat thread, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter. Please reply with the word lethal, Lethal. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to do that, and then we'll do a 10-click randomizer. And if I can grab it here, the winner will receive a signed 8x10 of Jay Lethal himself. So, again, reply with the word lethal. We'll do that randomizer here in 2 minutes. Just real quick, guys. While they're doing that, Jay, do you want to promote anything? I know you've got a Pro Wrestling Tee store. You've got your Twitch channel. Take the next couple minutes.
Probably, I'll promote my Twitch. The coolest thing about Twitch, because I fell in love with Twitch during the pandemic. I didn't realize it was as big as it was till Colt Cabana showed me the Twitch ways.
Yeah.
And they explained to me how this was such a cool way, because there are not many shows going on, to interact with the fans. And man, it was incredible. In fact, I wouldn't even be on the Going Broadway podcast, and I would have never met you guys if it weren't for Twitch.
Exactly.
I love Twitch. So I don't just do video games on there. I'm starting for the first time next week. I'm going to do some IRL, which is in real life. I just found that. So I can stream from pretty much anywhere just in real life. So I'm kind of interested in doing that. But yeah, if you got Twitch or you watch Twitch, follow me. I'm the Lethal J, which coincidentally is everything that I own. Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, Instagram. It's all under the Lethal J. TheLethalJay. And the reason that I picked the Lethal J is one time I did a show in New York City at a wrestling show called USA Pro for a gentleman named Frank Goodman. He ran the show. And I hadn't met Chris Candido yet, but he was in the locker room when I walked in. It was just the two of us. And when I walked in, he turns, sees me, and goes, it's the Lethal J. And in my head, I'm thinking, how does he know who I am? I've never even met Chris Candido. Big fan. I mean, I wanted to name my finisher the New Jersey Jam, which he called his leg drop. But I'd never met him, and he knew who I was. It's the Lethal J. So once he passed away, I changed as many things as I could to the Lethal J. So and any social media, anything. If you think I'm on it, just type in the Lethal J, and there I am. But yeah, I'm big on Twitch. So yeah, join me for some Twitch streams.
That's a great story. I love little anecdotes like that you can't find on the interwebs, so to speak. But I still to this day, like, why did he know who I was? It's the Lethal J. Lethal J, I love it. So yeah, go check out Jay Lethal on Twitch. Check him out across all social media platforms. He has a pro wrestling tee shop as well. So go buy his stuff. Just be blunt with it. But no, in all seriousness though, guys.
And I, like, you guys do giveaways. I do giveaways on my Twitch as well, guys.
He does.
Yeah.
But no, his Twitch streams are a lot of fun. He does Ring of Honor watch-alongs, which, guys, if you don't watch Ring of Honor, you're really missing out. Just Ring of Honor, past or present, really. I mean, my favorite Ring of Honor era, I guess. I don't know if there's a title or a specific way to refer to it, but it's when you had Jay and the Bucks and Adam Cole and Hangman Page and Cody and, Briscoes who are still there. And it's like, that was it for me. I mean, and that's really, in my opinion, if we didn't have that indie boom spark from Ring of Honor, I don't think we'd have AEW today.
Well, and I don't mean to sound ominous.
No.
But you mentioned that I stream the Ring of Honor shows. I probably won't be doing that.
Well, they can still go back and watch the old streams that are archived and such, but anyway.
Yeah, they can probably do that. You're right.
So scratch that.
Just stick around for him to do watch alongs with wherever else he goes.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so
exactly.
His the IRL watch alongs. That actually,
which I found there's about 30, 40 minutes away. There's a cornfield maze, and I convinced Josh Woods to come with me. So we're gonna do like a stream from this corn maze. And I didn't want to go during Halloween because I do not like being scared. And they had a Halloween cornfield maze or whatever. There was no way I was going for that. But yeah, there's little things like that. And also I want to do, I'm starting this yoga program. Okay. And I convinced Josh Woods to do this yoga program with me, actually run by his girlfriend. So I can't wait to stream that. So like I'm really big in the IRLs, but I just haven't done one myself.
Gotcha. I'm looking forward to that. I think I mean, you see a lot of people on Twitch now that are doing those types of videos, and those are a lot of times those are the ones that are the most entertaining because it's like you're not sitting at a computer or you're not playing a video game. It's like you're getting real-time reactions to stuff in real life. Not that video games and such aren't.
I looked up some of the popular IRLs. There's one guy who's real popular. All he does is ride his bike through New York City, like riding his bike through New York City traffic, and it's so fascinating. I watched it once and I was like, wow, I can't stop watching this. I ended up watching it for like 15 minutes. The only thing I don't know is how he has such good Wi-Fi. Like, does he have a little portable thing or like? Because I streamed a bike ride one time. I didn't stream it on Twitch, but I streamed it in my Discord.
Sure.
To see how it would come out. Not the best quality. I got AT&T. I was streaming from my phone. Not to say anything bad about AT&T. I've been with them since for a very long time. Man, I was still in school. but yeah, it wasn't the best quality. So I may have to buy some kind of like
personal hotspot. You need a
Yeah,
personal
yeah.
hotspot.
Yeah.
And it's not like AT&T sponsors you anyway, so you can say whatever you want about AT&T.
Well, I might be working on that AT&T sponsorship. You never know.
2 weeks from now, Jay, the Lethal J,
No,
AT&T.
I'm waiting a month.
Right.
A month from now, I'll be watching TV, and all of a sudden I'll see
His tights are AT&T tights. And
we'll see like the, I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but we'll see like the black machismo with the AT&T glasses and just
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna get working on that right now. Could you imagine some AT&T Machismo glasses? That'd be incredible.
that would be insane.
coming to a pro wrestling tee store near you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Oh, but
Yes.
speaking,
God, I'm gonna write that down. Yep.
just know, guys, if that really happens, you heard it here first on the Going Broadway podcast.
Oh wow.
Let's give away this 8x10 real quick. Like I said, guys, we're gonna do 10 clicks. I'm not even gonna worry about turning my laptop towards you guys because well, you might be able to tell. I'll still try. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And the winner of the Jay Lethal signed 8x10 is Jeremy Stoneberger.
Congrats to Jeremy. He's a frequent listener to the podcast, so
I don't know if you can see that or not, but
congrats, Jeremy. It is a 8x10 Jay Lethal Black Machismo poster here, which interestingly enough is a great segue into our next question. So
Congrats, Jeremy.
so
not done on purpose either.
So Jay, I'm gonna pull my script up here so I can read this a little better.
Okay.
One of the most entertaining characters that I've ever seen in wrestling history is your Black Machismo character. And so
Well, I can't take too much credit for that. It's Macho Man Randy Savage. He was the originator. Continue.
So this is where that question's kind of headed. Is that this kind of originated in the TNA Impact scene? Can you kind of tell us where you came up with it? Was it your thing? You know, how did it come about? And you know, why do you think it blew up the way it did? Because it seemed like everyone went nuts for it.
Why do I think it blew up the way it did is going to be a tough question to answer when we get there. But the Macho Man Randy Savage voice, that impression, you know, I've always been able to do it. I remember doing it at home, doing the dishes. And it at Impact Wrestling, it became this thing where I would do it in the locker room for a bunch of people whenever there was any downtime. And it wasn't until Kevin Nash heard it, because we were doing this weird, silly television stuff called Paparazzi Idol and the Paparazzi Productions, which a lot of that stuff, being honest, will never see the light of day because it can't. It was just too ridiculously foolish. They could, if they had all the deleted footage from that, it would be incredible. But so Kevin Nash heard me do it, and he said, "You got to do that on television." Like, wait a minute, why are we not doing that on TV? And of course, every wrestler, well, most of them from my generation who gets into wrestling, we want to be like the world champion. We want to be like, you know, we don't want to be an impression person or someone to be made fun of. It's a weird mentality we have when we first get in, and until we realize that there's a role for everybody and wrestling has a spot for everybody. And not everybody can be that world champion. You just got to figure out what your role is as soon as you can and do that. Then it will all work out. So Kevin Nash got me to realize that. And right away, I didn't want to make fun of the Macho Man. I didn't want anybody to think I was making fun of him because I loved him. I idolized him. And he said to me, first of all, no one would think you're making fun of him. But second of all, the most important part is no one's really talking about the Macho Man right now. So if you do this, you will actually get people to start talking about the Macho Man. And that one line to me made it all worth it. That's when I realized, like, you know what? He's right. I got to do this on TV. So he told Jeff Jarrett, and I remember they pulled me into a booth and put this headset on me, and they made me say all these Macho Man lines and so many ooh yeahs, and yeah, it was all gung ho from there. But it was mainly due to Kevin Nash hearing it during our silly paparazzi skits. And I tell you, when it started, I thought this probably won't last too long. I can't fathom. I don't understand how that gimmick or that story lasted. I'm grateful, but I can't understand how it lasted as long as it did without people going, "Oh, this is boring by now." Like, "Oh, enough of this." And it only really ended because the Ric Flair was coming.
Mm-hmm.
And right before that, I think Vince Russo may have known he was coming, so he had me slowly transition out of being Black Machismo. But it lasted almost my entire Impact career, and I was there for 7 years.
Yeah, it's that's why I'm asking, because a lot of us just couldn't get enough of it. It was one of those characters where it's kind of, I'll say it like this. Even though he's treated more comedic in WWE, it reminds me of the R-Truth stuff. Like, we want to get behind it because it's just so entertaining to get behind. So when you get into the ring, it's like, no, I'm supporting this dude because he's also a great wrestler. Like, you know, I literally talk about this all the time. I think R-Truth is severely underutilized all the time because even now he's still got it in the ring. And, you know, and so it's one of those, the character's just so fun to get behind that it's like we can't get enough of the promos and the vignettes and all this thing. And then when you get in the ring, it's so easy to want to support what you're doing. So
100%.
It really enjoyed that character. So,
and I think a lot of sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, it makes 100% sense. Yeah.
And I think part of it for me too is it's almost like in the back of your mind type thing. It's like, you know, that this talent, whoever we're talking about, can be so versatile that this isn't, you know, a one time or not a one. It's not a standalone character. I mean, whoever it is, we're talking about, whether it's Jay, whether it's R-Truth. I mean, in addition to the in-ring talent, there's so many facets of one's personality where, I mean, in R-Truth's case, something that's overlooked, he played a heel for a while.
Right.
And it was actually taken seriously.
Little Jimmy.
Yes.
And that's
that's
what is well, I'm even outside of the whole Little Jimmy stuff, whenever he did his little program with Miz, and it was taken seriously to the point where, like, they invested so much in that storyline that security was getting involved, you know, certain weeks as far as the brawls and smosh what have you. But sorry, I'm getting off track. But so during Impact, I wanted to bring this up. You teamed with Consequences Creed, who, of course, is now known as Xavier Woods, or King Woods, in WWE. Can you tell us a little bit about what your experience was like teaming with him, being tag champions? If you have any favorite matches or specific memories you can share with from that experience.
Yeah, sure. You know, Consequences Creed. He was a person that I'd never seen him sad. He was just so happy and energetic, 100%, 24/7. It was hard to get him down or make him sad or upset. That's the coolest things about him, I think. He, no matter what the situation is, he always, you know, makes a positive. Even in some crappy situations. I remember when I was doing the Black Machismo, there's two stories I'll share about with Creed. When I was doing the Black Machismo, I don't know if you guys remember, but at one point I wrestled Tatanka, and then I wrestled Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
Yep.
It was like this thing where they were bringing back these legends from the Macho Man's past.
Yep.
You know? Well, this was actually an idea pitched to the office by Consequences Creed, but we were a tag team. So when he pitched it, we were wrestling old tag teams.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they loved the idea, just wanted me to do singles stuff. So, which was weird because why are we even a tag team if you don't even want to do tag team stuff? So
Right.
that kind of sucked for him. But he was still gung ho and super excited for me. I'm sure it had to be a crusher for him. I pitched this idea for us to do this tag stuff for a team, and they got you doing single stuff. And then eventually they, I think, released Creed, which was just so sad. But the other story, which is a kind of a funnier story, is sometimes on the Impact Wrestling house shows that weren't recorded, Consequences Creed and I would have a tag match, and at the end of the tag match, once it was over, Creed would always use the song "Living in America" by James Brown, and he's such a good dancer. He's actually a pretty good singer too. So after the matches, he would in the ring start dancing. We would invite a little kid into the ring, and we would dance with the kid. And then when Earl Hebner would go to leave the ring, we'd pull Earl Hebner back in and make him dance too. Well, we did this at every single TNA house show that we did. And when it would come to me, time for me to dance, I would dance like how I think Macho Man would dance. Do the big twirl, finger up in the air. So one time, Creed and I got into this discussion because he would do a spin and do a split. He was such a good dancer. Well, one time I got into a discussion with him, a little disagreement, and I told him, I can dance too. I can do a split if I wanted to.
Oh, no.
And he said, yeah, you should do it. let me, I don't think you could, but you should do it. And I go, yeah, I'm not going to do it. He goes, that's because you can't. So I was like, oh, don't. So one time after the match, we call a kid into the ring. Earl Hebner goes to leave. We pull Earl Hebner back in. He's dancing. And at the point where I would normally do my Macho Man pretend dance, I decided to do a spin and then do a split just to prove to Creed that I could do it. And I pulled my hamstring.
Oh, no.
My whole leg was black and blue. Now, the worst part about it, because it was hilarious to Creed, the worst part about it was this is day one of a 3-day loop.
Oh, no.
And I had pulled my hamstring so bad that I could not wrestle on day 2 and day 3. So not only was I embarrassed that I hurt myself doing something that I didn't even need to be, like, no one wanted to see me do a split. The entertaining thing was me dancing like the Macho Man. But I had to show Creed that I could do it. And I don't know if that counts as me doing it because I hurt myself while doing it. So I don't even know who won the bet. But, yeah, and I remember my whole back of my leg was black and blue, and he kept saying, you shouldn't have done that, man. And like, look, I only did it because he was egging me on. Oh, man. But, yeah, I miss Creed. I miss teaming with him. We had some great
The many
times.
talents of Creed. Trombone player, singer, dancer, wrestler, Batista song impersonator.
I love that story. It's like
I've never told that story to anyone, actually.
that's great. I love that story. It's like, I don't think you can do it. Well, you shouldn't have done that.
I shouldn't have done that. Oh, man.
Oh, wow. I was so embarrassed. And not just embarrassed in front of the people because I had, couldn't barely get up. But I was embarrassed that I had hurt myself doing a split, and then day 2 and day 3, I couldn't wrestle. I had to just come to the ring with Creed, and he had singles matches when we were supposed to have tag matches. And, of course, wrestlers are wrestlers and the boys are boys, so I got made fun of that whole loop. And a few shows after, I remember Bobby Roode saying several things to me. And rightfully so. If the shoe was on the other foot, I would have been poking fun as well.
Oh, real quick before we transition a little bit, can you give us a little Black Machismo?
Brother, yeah. It's always been something I've been able to do, isn't that right? Yeah. And luckily, I've been able to become really, 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 really close friends with his brother, Lanny Poffo. We speak quite often. I spoke to him on the phone a few days ago. He's got a tremendous impression as well. And I don't think he'd mind if I shared this story with you.
Go for it.
he said he would always tell me that, you know, his older brother, the Macho Man, he was the kind of brother that gave you tough love. He loved you, but it was that tough love. And he tells me sometimes, you know what I really miss sometimes is sometimes my brother would yell at me for the dumbest things, but it was that tough love. So, like, since you can do his voice, if you wouldn't mind random points throughout the day, just call me and yell at me or for something stupid. He goes, like, it's kind of silly, but it's like the main thing that I miss from my brother. You, in the moment when he's yelling at you, you don't miss it. You don't even think you know, you hate those moments. But if I could go back, I would love just to hear him yell at me for just 10 seconds. And it's kind of sad, but heartwarming. And I do it because I idolize the Macho Man, and Lanny is my good friend. So I do on occasion at random moments yell at him for no apparent reason.
That's pretty funny, actually.
I agree. It's funny, heartwarming, kind of tugs on your heartstrings a little bit, all at the same time.
Emotions.
So we got
the gambit of emotion.
We got one more impersonation, I guess we should talk about.
Okay.
A nostalgic moment you kind of alluded to earlier.
Yes.
So we're gonna talk about the woo off here for a moment. You know, probably to this day, it's one of my favorite wrestling clips to go back and watch because it's so funny. It's so funny. And so to hear, like, right after it, you're like, I thought I knocked it out of the park, but I guess not. Like, I don't know how anybody would argue that you didn't knock it out of the park because it was so funny. But the question I have for you regarding it is, how much of that was off the cuff? How much of that was planned? What was it like working with the Nature Boy, Ric Flair? And of course, can you give us a little woo off?
So first of all, a meme was created. There's so many memes on that. And my favorite one is when two dogs are walking past each other. And if I could have just got $1, just a simple little $1 from every view, I would be rich. That thing has gotten so many views. And one cool part about it too is some people that I went to high school with, who, you know, because of the way life works, sometimes people you just fall out of contact with. Some people that I went to high school with, some that I barely talked to, some I talked to a little, some I talked to a lot. They reached out to me, sending me these memes. And I thought that was so cool. Man, what a reach that wrestling has over the world. So to get to work with him was a dream come true. Growing up, I idolized two people, Macho Man and Ric Flair, and he's definitely one of them. Now, let's talk about the Ric Flair impression that I can do. I had no idea that I even could do it. We were in the UK on one of our off days. Everyone came to the bar, and I had a few too many drinks and found out, coincidentally enough, while drinking, that I had this Ric Flair impression of me that I never once tried or knew that I could do. I idolized him. I watched so much of his stuff, but I never tried to do a Ric Flair. And that's how I found that I could even do it, which is wild. And I guess I just watched him so much that it just became easy for me to impersonate him. And when someone ever asks, what is the scariest moment of your life? What has been, up until now, the scariest moment of your life? I've been on a bunch of roller coasters. You know, what's the one thing that's been the scariest? And the scariest moment of my life was doing that promo with Ric Flair in the ring. And here's why. Up until that point, the woo-off, even there was several interactions. We had several in-ring promos and stuff with him. But up until that point, I had done the Machismo character.
Yeah.
And all of my promos were pre-taped. They were never really live. And here's the thing about those Macho Man Machismo promos. If Vince Russo said, hey, bro, you got to cut a promo on A, B, C, and D. Okay? Ready? Go. In my Machismo voice, I could say A, B. I would skip C and just do D. But it didn't matter what I said because as long as I put that voice in there, everything was okay. So sometimes I wouldn't even hit the points that they wanted me to hit. But they would love it because it's in the Macho Man voice and like, okay, good, nice. So I was always like a one-take wonder because it didn't matter what I said just as long as I had the voice. So going from that to now, it's the first time they've given me a chance to do a live promo in front of a live crowd with a live microphone with Ric Flair. It was absolutely terrifying. And another thing that made it terrifying is earlier in that day, Vince Russo goes, bro, you got a promo today with Ric Flair. But Ric Flair won't let us write anything for him, bro. So you're going to have to go to him and ask him what the promo is going to be about. I go, okay. So I go to Ric Flair and I tell him, Vince Russo said we got a promo today. I'm super excited. He goes, oh, it's going to be great. And I go, okay. So he told me to get with you to talk about what the promo is going to be about. And as if it was a movie, and I'm not making this up, I promise you I'm not. As if it was a movie, he stood up, walked over to me, and he like tapped me on the shoulder kind of rough. And he said, I don't talk about my promos beforehand. And he slapped me on the shoulder. He goes, I'll see you out there, kid. And then he walked out of the room. The crazy part about him walking out of the room was I was standing in his locker room. So there was no reason for him to leave. But it was just like it was out of a movie. So when he walked out, of course, I thought he was joking. So eventually I catch up with him earlier. And I catch up with him a little later, and I asked him again, what do you want to, how's this promo going to work? And it did seem like he was getting a little agitated because I didn't listen to him the first time. He said, I don't talk about promos. We'll just do it out there. And I said, okay. And I remember I put the suit on, and I was so nervous. And standing right behind the curtain before my music hit, my arms were shaking, and I remember my hands, with the pins and needles were in my hands. Because I had no idea what was about to happen. I know that I'm going to go to the ring and do a Ric Flair impression until he comes out. That part I knew. But everything that happened after that, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. So Simon Diamond, Pat Kenny, he was one of the agents at Impact Wrestling. He came, because it was at the top of the stairs is where the curtain was. So he came up the stairs to talk to me. He goes, are you okay? He's like, I was standing down there, like, you're shaking. I go, oh, Pat, I'm so nervous. I don't know what's going on here. He goes, what? Well, just relax. Do me a favor. Just focus on this fact. You are only going to the ring to do this because you were doing it in the locker room. And everybody loved it in the locker room. That's all you got to do. So when you go out there, don't try to do anything that you wouldn't do in the locker room. Just pretend you're in the locker room out there. That's it. Like, don't overthink it. And I go, well, okay, that kind of helped. And it kind of did help a little bit, but it was still terrifying. And yeah, like to this day, the scariest moment of my entire life is those promos with Ric Flair because I never did a live promo before. And I'm like, I'm going to look so stupid. He's like the master of promos. I'm going to stumble over my words. And, but yeah, like it was so wild. So wild. So terrifying.
So everything there was literally off the cuff, basically. You throwing your jacket down, hitting the elbow on it, him going back and forth on the ropes and running towards just saying, woo, like that all was off the cuff.
All of it. Every last bit of it. The only thing, when it comes to me and the things that I did with Ric Flair, the only things that I knew ahead of time was that first promo I was going to go out there and do my impression until he came out. And then I had no idea. And the only other thing that I knew ahead of time was I actually had a match with Ric Flair. Mm-hmm. And he pulled me aside and put together how the finish of the match was going to go, which was me beating him with the figure four. He told me how it was going to happen. But everything else was just me listening to him. I had no idea what was happening. So, like, it was so wild. The way he works is that there's nothing really pre-planned. Except for the necessary things that need to be, and everything else we can kind of just work and flow as it presents itself, which to me at the time, like I said, was terrifying to me. Promo wise, I'd never done a live promo. I was never in like main event stuff unless I was X Division. in which case there was like 20 people there. So like,
Right.
you just had a tiny little piece, and like, man, it was just what a moment.
Super cool.
What a moment.
Super cool, especially because it brings the real and the authentic out when you're just kind of, you know, off the cuff like that. But still to this day, so hilarious. And to know now that it was literally off the cuff makes it even that much funnier, because it really just shows how talented he is, obviously, but how talented you were really at the time and probably underutilized. And to also hear a Vince Russo impersonation now, you really have a whole nother, you know, if you need a backup to the backup to the backup, you could just be a wrestling impersonator, because it's starting to feel like you can just do everybody in the business.
Bro.
Oh, man. And, yeah, Flair, he loved every second of it, too. I remember so I had like 3 matches with him. And after each match, when we get in the locker room, everyone's standing up clapping for him. And he'd pull me close to him and he'd whisper in my ear. And he'd say, every time he'd say, "Let's see him follow that." Every single time. And like he just, he loved it. And I remember, even on the days where we weren't wrestling each other, but like house shows, loops that he would do, he would come into the building, and I knew he was in the building because I would hear him screaming for me to come over to him. Lethal! He would be like, I would hear him way on the other side of the building, and I'd be like, okay, that must mean it's 2 things. One, he needs me to come in. He wants me to run in one of his matches. Or 2, he would always have a new guest. He would always bring someone different to the shows, and he would make me do the impression for them while he stood there and watched. And then, like, at the end, when I'd do a woo or something ending a promo, he wouldn't even thank me. He would, like, turn and look at them. He goes, "The kid does me better than I do myself." And then they would walk away. And just leave me there. And I'd be like, well, that's thanks enough. That him saying that to them was like the thank you, which I so appreciated. But yeah, he loved every second of it.
I mean, just as a wrestling fan, part of the what makes that particular promo, so kind of backtracking a little bit, what people don't fail to remember is during that particular promo, so where Jay's out, he's on the stage, and you've got a who's who of guys in the ring. It's not just Flair, but this when AJ was still there. You had Kazarian there.
It was Fortune, right? It was
Fortune.
Yeah,
so you had
Nigel McGuinness.
I think he was Desmond Wolfe at the time.
Yeah.
And then James Storm and Bobby Roode were all in the ring. So, and it's just one of those things where you can tell as this promo is going on, the guys in the ring are trying not to. They're trying to keep a straight face. Even Flair himself will, you can tell his reaction is still enough so that he's staying kayfabe, if you will. But you can tell, you can tell inside he's just like loving this.
He turned red, bro.
And there was only one point in any of the interactions that we had where I felt like I really did get him. And there was only one point, and the point was, student of the game, I had watched so much Ric Flair stuff before and after I started the Ric Flair gimmick. And I had seen so many Ric Flair promos, and Raven always taught me that whenever you watch a movie or you hear a wrestling promo and you hear a cool line that you like, always write it down. Get yourself a book and always have it written down. That way you can always use it later in promos and stuff. So I had this book. I had so many Ric Flair lines. And I remember the day before that looking through that book, and one line in particular that I always thought was so cool. Ric Flair told someone, you want to, jumping on the bandwagon is easy. Everybody wants to do that. But you're going to find out that jumping on is a lot easier than jumping off. And he only said that line 2 or 3 times recorded. Mm-hmm. There's probably plenty of times where he said those on house shows that never got recorded.
Sure.
But there was not a lot of footage of him saying that actual line. So when I said it in my promo with him, and just when I saw his face, his eyes light up as if like he couldn't even realize that I even knew that he had said that line. And all he could say out of his mouth was, "Wow!" When he said "wow," in my heart, I was just like so. Man, I was jumping for joy because I had realized. Because, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Saying those lines, that probably, anybody can say that.
Sure.
So all those lines that I said probably didn't really get him. That was the only line where I was like, wow, I got him.
I mean, and I will say that, like I said, the common wrestling fan may have not picked up on it, but someone like me who's watched pretty much all of my life with, maybe sporadic instances here and there, for someone like me watching that, it was pretty apparent that was, like you said, that got him. Like, he wasn't expecting that line, and it was just chef's kiss on the promo, if you will. So
thank you.
Let's see, where are we at? So a question I was going to ask you, which you already answered, was your victory over Flair and beating him with the figure four. So that was all Flair's idea.
All of his idea, and part of me is like, I shouldn't tell that part, but it wasn't a popular opinion among some people to have that be the finish. And I remember, but what are you going to say to Ric Flair if he's pitching this? So a lot of people, there were some people who kind of pushed back before the match and tried to get it changed because they didn't really want that, but it's what Flair wanted. So.
And I loved it personally. I thought it was...
Oh my God, I personally loved it too. Like, I mean, imagine how I'm feeling, right?
I just feel like that's one of the, I don't know, underused types of finishes. Uh-oh. What just happened?
Just a message.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it was just, I felt like it was one of the underused finishes out there that, someone defeating someone else with their finish and so on and so forth. But
yes,
we're gonna wrap up here shortly. I think, Cole, you've got one more question, and we might have time for one or two questions from the viewers.
Okay.
Actually, let's just jump into the questions from the viewers.
Okay.
Let's go straight into those. That way,
that works.
We got Jay for a limited amount of time, so we want to make sure we get a couple questions in from you guys.
For sure.
I'll definitely be a returning guest. We'll have to. I promise. I'm saying it here, and this is recorded. I promise I'll be back on Going Broadway Podcast. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Cool. So
I love it.
Let's pick
It's a promise. It's a guarantee.
Can we get 3 questions in? Do you think 3?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's get three fan questions in here. Alex, did you see one?
Well, real quick. I mean, this was a question from a viewer, but I am asking it for selfish reasons. Can you give us a little Ric Flair? If not, totally fine.
Let's see. So some of my favorite things about the Ric Flair impression is, and it made the Macho Man one easier because for Ric Flair, I have to have heard him say the words in order for me to kind of imitate it. With the Macho Man, I can say almost anything. Anything that I want in that voice. But Flair is a little tougher for me. So, like, the easiest ones is when he's yelling, and it's a little harder for me to do the ones when he's, because he likes to stress out the last part of everything, when you're living, and, like, the way you fall off of the word when you're talking low and regular in your regular voice is the toughest part. The easiest part of the Flair impression, obviously, is when you're living in the house on the biggest side of town. So the yelling part is way easier than the talking low part. So I always felt like whenever I did my Flair, I had to get as quickly as I can to a point of yelling. Otherwise, the impression wouldn't be as good.
That's fantastic.
Oh, man.
I love it. Okay.
There was one promo where someone, and this is just what I think, someone must have told him, hey, can you not yell right away? and he cut a promo on Mr. Perfect because Mr. Perfect had turned on him because Mr. Perfect was, the perfect manager. And, man, I remember Flair throughout almost the whole promo was like, Perfect, what are you thinking about, my friend? You have basked in the same light. You have shared the same lifestyle. You have basked in the glory of the Machismo.
The face.
And like the whole thing. There's a lot of. Oh man, there's so many, and then there's like some of my favorite ones too is where he's cutting promos on Hulk Hogan. And he's like, Bobby, they tell me that Hogan has been in the gym training harder than he ever has in his entire life for his upcoming match with the real world champion. The real world champion.
It's like you embody him. Like your facial, like as soon as you get into character, it's like you become him. It's amazing to watch, honestly.
Man, that whole the real, and they put the video distortion over the belt. I so badly wanted to do that. Like, could you imagine if when I was Ring of Honor World Champion, I went to WWE and did some kind of evasion angle, and they had to put the video distortion over the belt? Oh man!
I'm just thinking, like recently, like in NXT, they did the Ted DiBiase angle with Cameron Grimes.
Yes,
like
the
to
$1 million
think about,
belt,
like
yes.
you coming out and like doing a promo against like Ted DiBiase would have been absolutely hilarious. Because I just feel like if you had time, you probably could have done $1 Million Man. Like it just seems
Speaking of $1 Million Man, since we're on the subject, I know we're trying to get some more last minute questions in, but I thought he would have made a great world champion. I thought when $1 Million Man paid Andre the Giant to win the belt and then handed, like, I thought they should have kept the. I'm glad they didn't because it led to Macho Man becoming the world champion. So I'm glad they didn't. But I thought they should have kept the belt on the $1 Million Man. I thought, Jesus, what a heel! He paid? He practically paid his way to the world title, and now he's surrounded himself. Like, there's nothing he can't buy. He's surrounded himself by all these powerful people. He's got Andre the Giant with him. He'll be the champion forever, and people will hate him. I'm, like, so shocked that they didn't go that route. So, but like I said, I'm glad they didn't because he did that. Then they said, you can't do that, Jack Tunney. And then they vacated the world title, and then they had a tournament, and it came down to DiBiase and Savage won, which, I'm so glad for. But the fact that DiBiase wasn't a big, strong heel world champion, which he totally could have been, was, to this day, I never understand it.
You can't do that, Jack Tunney. I love it. No, I 100% agree. What they should have done is they should have kept the belt on DiBiase. All of the WrestleMania should have been just moved forward a year. So you would have had Savage and DiBiase at WrestleMania 5. You could have built a program instead of having a tournament. Savage and Hogan at WrestleMania 6. Warrior and Hogan at WrestleMania 7, which they could have still had it in that big Los Angeles Coliseum at that point, would have held 80, 90,000 people or more. And they still would have been able to do it because, the whole slaughter, death threats thing wouldn't have even been an issue. So
Correct. And the fact that DiBiase sometimes would pay his opponent to not have the match, it would only be job guys. But, like, I thought it was genius. Like, man, he could have been such a hated heel because he doesn't deserve that belt. But he holds on to it and he uses his money. And, man, and he was a fantastic worker. Man.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Ted DiBiase had fantastic matches.
Some of my favorite matches of his were even pre-WWE, like in Mid-South. And, I mean, I just watched his match with Flair from 85, I think, a couple weeks ago. Great match.
All right, Jay, we'll wrap up with this.
DiBiase's awesome.
We'll wrap up with this question right here. This comes from Terry. And it says, what is your favorite all-time match to date, and who would you like to face now that you have never faced before?
Okay, so those are two easy questions. I've been asked those several times, so I'll give you my answers. Favorite match to date. Now, there's a lot of them, but I'll give you my favorite ones. But honorable mentions are me versus Ric Flair, me versus Chris Sabin, which was on a TNA house show that didn't get recorded. For the first time ever, my older brother was coming to see me wrestle. And for the first time ever, his older brother was coming to see him wrestle.
Wow.
So we actually, they said you only got 10 minutes, but we went over that because we were willing to get in trouble to put on a show for our brothers. And in fact, to this day, Chris Sabin and I refer to that match as the brothers match because we were so excited that our brothers were there. So there's so many matches that I would deem one of my favorites, but it has to be me versus Jay Briscoe for the Ring of Honor World Championship. And for the simple fact that my parents were there. Now, my parents were at my very first show ever in a little, now it's like a convenience store, the building, but it was in Bayonne, New Jersey. They were there for the first show that I've ever done. They were there for the first time I ever wrestled at Ring of Honor. And they were there for, so many different crownings of champions at Ring of Honor and different promotions. So to have them live that journey with me, and now they're front row, and their son is winning the Ring of Honor World Championship, it's quite a big deal. That, to me, made it one of my most memorable matches. Plus, I'm in there with Jay Briscoe, and he's just fantastic.
Yeah.
But what made that was my parents being there. And the other question was, who would I like to wrestle?
Someone you've never faced.
Someone I've never faced, and it's all people that I'm trying to catch before they no longer wrestle.
Right.
And, on the top of that list would have to be, and I've made mention of this for years now, is Chris Jericho. So I'd love to get a chance to wrestle with Chris Jericho before he no longer is wrestling. Obviously, The Undertaker was also on that list, but, even when he was wrestling, I thought there was a very slim chance that I'd ever get to wrestle with The Undertaker. Believe it or not, I've never had a singles match with Ricochet. I think
really
that would be a yes. I've never. There's a lot of people I've never had a match with that I'd like to.
That one
but on the
sparks my
top of that
interest.
list, obviously, is
was Ricochet ever in Ring of Honor?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I guess not. He was always New Japan, wasn't he?
But we've been on plenty of indie shows together.
Sure.
Plenty.
Sure.
Wow.
All right. Well, we're going to continue on with the podcast, but Jay, we know you have to go. We sincerely appreciate you coming on. Looking forward to having you
for having me.
We're looking forward to having you back on. I'll be in touch with you. I would love to make it happen as soon as as soon as you're available. Maybe within the next month or two, but same thing with the Tully interview. I feel like we've barely just scratched the surface of the things we could talk about. So that being said, again, we sincerely appreciate your time, and this has been a blast.
Thank you. I'm going to go on a limb here and say within the next month or so, not or so, let's just take that word. Within the next month, I'll be back within the next month. How about that?
Sounds great.
I love it. So
everybody listening and you guys, and it's recorded, you can hold me to that. Within the next month.
We will make it happen. All right. Jay,
Okay.
we're going to let you go. Thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Thank you for the questions in the chat. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'll see you.
All right. Thanks, Jay. See ya.
Bye.
Man.
The guy is like a walking wrestling impersonation. Like, literally, he literally can impersonate just about anybody and everybody. And so that was fun. Just hearing him be able to switch almost instantaneously from character and out of character. I loved it.
Guys, we have a couple more giveaways that we're going to do, so stick around with us. We're also going to do predictions for Full Gear this upcoming Saturday. We didn't get to those with Jay. The initial plan was he was going to do predictions with us, but unfortunately he had something come up. He wasn't able to stick around for his not quite as long as he initially said. That's totally okay because
he's a busy man.
He's a busy fella. So tell you what, let's just do the next giveaway. So reply with the word Where's it at? What's that? Reply with the word machismo. MACHISMO. I'll say that. I'll spell that out again. MACHISMO. Reply with the word machismo. We'll give you guys 2 minutes to reply with that. And the winner will receive a J-Lethal box. What's in the box? I will show you what's in the box.
It's the Lethal J.
We have a few stickers here. We have a few different signed 8x10s. We have...
These are great right here.
The Black Machismo glasses. And last but not least, we have Lanny Poffo and J-Lethal Brothers from Another Mother shirt. Now, this is in a size extra large. If that doesn't fit you, if you win and an XL does not fit you, let me know, and what I'll do is I'll hook you up with one of our Going Broadway podcast shirts instead that will fit you. So one way or another, we will figure that out.
And what I need is that whoever wins this, I need you to post a picture of you wearing these glasses.
Absolutely.
To our Going Broadway podcast page. I got to see them on.
Absolutely. While you're doing that, guys, I want to give you some quick reminders. So this Saturday, like I said, we're going to be doing our predictions for Full Gear here shortly. This Saturday, we are having a live watch party. We'll be going live at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. This Saturday night, November, what's the date on that? 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it will be exclusive to Twitch only. So please join us via Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Going Broadway Podcast. That's the only platform we're going to be airing on. But we will be attempting to broadcast the event live and do it legally. So there's not going to be sound. There's going to be watermarks going across the screen. It won't be the best video, but it'll still be video nonetheless. Now, as far as the timing difference, I don't know if me and Cole's reactions to us watching it live there'll probably be a little bit of a delay on your guys' end. So as in previous watch parties, we'll do our best to refrain from giving away too much too soon, if that makes sense. So, but again, please join us this Saturday, November 13th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, AW Full Gear Watch Party. And while you're at it, while you're on Twitch, please give us a follow.
And subscribe if you would.
I don't know if they can subscribe at this point yet.
Ooh, we got to work on that.
Well, I think you have to, there's like certain Twitch levels. I don't know if
we got to get to that level, y'all.
I know we're on a beginning level as far as Twitch goes since we're new, but I do know that you can give us a follow. If you can subscribe, please subscribe. And eventually we're going to be doing some giveaways that are specific to our Twitch followers and Twitch subscribers. So keep that in mind. But tell you what, let's do this giveaway. And we're going to be doing one more giveaway even after this one. So please still stick around and hang out with us as we give our full gear rewind. Please stick with us as we give our full gear predictions. I'm just making sure everybody has been populated in. Scrolling. I'm just having to go from screen to screen here. And one more to check. Yeah, take two, exactly. And looks like we're good. Okay, so let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and click number 10 will be our winner, and he or she is friend of the show, Andrew W. Boehner Jr. is the winner of the J-Lethal gift box.
Good old Andrew. Longtime listener of the show.
By the way, guys, if you win, even if you are a loyal viewer, you still have to officially claim your prize. So you have to contact us. Remind us of what your mailing address is, even if you've won before. A nice reminder of what your mailing address is would sincerely help. So, and by the way, guys, your questions for Jay Lethal aren't lost on us. We can archive all these questions that you ask while we're on the show and save them for when he comes back on. You heard him within the next month.
The hope will be that he'll be on longer. He was supposed to be on. We had a whole segment planned, and like 5 minutes before the show, he let us know that something came up. So that's why I think he wants to come back on and get a little bit more into your guys' questions too. And again, we barely scratched the surface on the ones that we had as well. So he's kind of one of those guys that would love to do the entire show with us. So we might have some segments where we get his take on some of our normally scheduled program.
Yeah, I would venture to say next time he comes on the podcast with us, I mean, I think we'll probably do
like a regular show.
Well, we'll probably do a regular show, and like the fan mail segment will just be all Jay Lethal related questions.
Yeah.
I think that'll be fun. Like we could do our one must go segment, and I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So let's jump to predictions for Full Gear this Saturday. Again, guys, I can't stress this enough. Join us live this Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, via Twitch only. And let's just take these one at a time in no particular order. So we'll do the pre-show first. I mean, I don't want to say who cares.
Well, who cares? No,
We'll do all of them. Pre-show, Nyla Rose and Jamie Hayter teaming against Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa. Who do you got?
This one kind of feels non-storyline, so I'm going to go with the faces. I'm going to go with Thunder Rosa and Shida.
Same here. Let's see. We have the match that was just announced last night. Pac and Cody Rhodes teaming against Malachi Black and Andrade El Idolo.
This one's a little hard for me because of where the Cody Rhodes story is right now with him getting a win over Malachi Black. Like, I don't know. I'm going to go Malachi Black, Andrade. I think that they need the win bigger than the other two. But
so here's where I'm at. Because Pat got the win last night, it's not always you get the win on the go home show and then you take the loss on the pay-per-view. More often than not, that is what happens. But the thing that intrigues me most actually is Malachi Black did an interview within the last week, basically hinting that his character is actually going to go through a drastic change, or you're going to see a new Malachi Black, or however it was worded. So that's what makes it difficult for me. Those two things factored in. It almost makes me wonder if Malachi Black and Andrade take a loss here, and then Black is, we don't see him on TV for 2 or 3 weeks, whatever. It could be like Andrade turning on him and setting up a program with those two. This one's difficult for me too.
There's multifaceted storylines that could happen out of it. So,
I have a hard time believing, though, that, because they kind of just paired them together recently, that you're going to split them up that quick. It almost feels like it needs to be, they need a longer storyline and then build up to the turn or splitting or whatever. I'm going to go Malachi and Andrade as well. I don't think necessarily whatever character change he's teasing is going to happen this soon. Could be wrong. We'll see. Excuse me. Let's tackle this one. Christian Cage and Jurassic Express versus the Super Click Falls Count Anywhere match.
I hate to say it, but I think the Super Click's going to win because we've talked about this before. We think that they're building them up for a Trios Championship. They'll probably be the inaugural Trios Champions or whatever. So you can't really have them take losses. And I just kind of feel like Jurassic Express and Christian Cage to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But they've taken a lot of L's as a team to where I'm like, this feels like the payoff would be for them to win. Even if it's in a non-clean fashion or whatever, but it kind of feels like the payoff should be that Jurassic Express wins at the pay-per-view.
Okay.
After the countless weeks of kind of taking the, even if it's not a match, taking the loss in the brawl or whatever the case may be. With all that being said, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Christian Cage and Jurassic Express actually win.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go super quick. Christian Cage and Jurassic Express actually picked up the win on Dark earlier this week, which was taped at the Rampage in St. Louis, and I got to watch it live. That Dark card was actually really stacked.
As promised.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of that was because, Tony Khan came out during commercial or between segments or whatever, and he said, he wanted to make it up to the St. Louis crowd for not having full gear there. Promised a stacked card for Dark. Compared to Dark standards, I mean, he pretty well delivered. So a lot of people said, based on the pictures I posted, that they thought Dark looked better than Rampage. It's arguable, but at the same time, you had 2 hours worth of Dark and you had an hour of Rampage, and that hour flew by.
Right.
So anyway, I'm going to say super click on that one. Let's go Darby against MJF.
This one is difficult because you got to pick who needs to win better, I feel like, or needs the bigger win. I'm going to say MJF, mainly because I feel like he's pretty protected at times where they kind of let Darby take his wins and his losses as he goes. So I'm going to say MJF solely based off of I think he's got a little bit more of a protected record. The
only way I see MJF losing this match is if somehow Wardlow gets involved but accidentally hits or trips MJF or costs him the match, which would set up a feud with MJ and Wardlow. I don't think that's happening just yet, though.
There's that, or there's the potential of Wardlow getting involved where it would be in MJF's favor, but then Sting gets involved and takes Wardlow out, and it kind of shifts the balance back into Darby winning. But ultimately, I think if we're just talking straight win, I think I got to go MJF.
I'm going MJF as well. Let's see. CM Punk against Eddie Kingston.
This one's tough. I know that the general answer would be to go CM Punk.
I don't think it's that clear cut, though.
But this feud has really kind of taken off quite quickly. It kind of felt like it was thrown together, but then the promo last week where they really got into each other's faces and kind of it almost kind of feels like how Jay Lethal talked about his promo with Ric Flair. It kind of just seemed like they both went out there and they said, hey, I'm going to say some pretty rough things about the past and really get real with it. And it felt real. And it's the first promo I've seen from Punk where I actually felt like there was a realness to it. And there was that authentic Punk that we've come to know and love from years past. But when Eddie Kingston said the line about, why don't you, after I beat you this week, you're going to quit for another 7 years. And Eddie Kingston just killed it on the mic. And he's taken a lot of L's. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if Eddie Kingston's the first guy to give Punk like his loss, though. So I'm struggling. I'm inevitably going to say CM Punk wins this because I just think it'd be too much of an uproar for fans. But I think storyline-wise, it would be better if Kingston won it.
Let's be real. I mean, these guys are really, chums. They're friendly backstage. I can almost see this as a situation where Punk wants to give Eddie the W, really, because Eddie's taken a lot of L's himself, but a lot of that is attributed to the fact he's already been put in big matches. Yep. TNT title match against Miro, world title match against Moxley.
Yep.
So that's why I'm on the fence on this one. I think I agree the safe pick here is Punk, but I could almost see them backstage, Punk saying, Eddie, I want you to win, but Eddie saying, no, I want Punk to win. And
again, I think storyline it makes more sense for Kingston to win, but
then how do you build off that though?
But
that's where I struggle.
Where I'm struggling is
I'm going Punk as well on that one. Inner Circle against Men of the Year, an American Top Team, Minneapolis Street Fight.
Again, my pick is going to be based off of what happened last night. The Inner Circle was booked to have a promo, a discussion, what have you. We never got a word out of them because America's Top Team comes out and beats the living tar out of them. Dan Lambert takes Chris Jericho through a table. And then the statement is made that they're going to win the match by Dan Lambert pinning Chris Jericho. This is an elimination match too, right?
I don't think so.
It's not. Okay,
I think
so
it's just
one pinfall.
Yeah.
So I kind of see it like a Survivor Series end, though, where it's gonna seem like the numbers are in Dan Lambert's favor.
Yeah.
It's gonna feel like it's about to go down, then out of nowhere the tides shift, and you get the tease last night of Dan Lambert making Chris Jericho quote unquote tap out. I think we're gonna see the scenery shift a little bit, and it's just gonna be Jericho and Lambert in the ring, and Lambert's gonna tap out to the walls of Jericho. I think Inner Circle is gonna win this. There's really no payoff for America Top Team to win it. There's no long-term storyline coming out of this beyond that. I think it makes more sense for Inner Circle to win.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're going to have an Inner Circle lose as a team, it should have just been to the Pinnacle a while back. I feel like if they lose now, it does nothing for anybody. I mean,
right.
Definitely hurts Inner Circle. I don't think it does anything for American Top Team. I don't even think it does anything for Ethan Page or Scorpio Sky. I think it's just, I don't know.
Because after this feud's over, they really just needed to put America Top Team with somebody.
They need to get rid of American Top Team.
Right, I agree. But they wanted to do that. Excuse me. They wanted to do that angle, which is, whether it's right or wrong is not really our say. But they decided to do it, so they're making it happen. But they had to give wrestlers to them to make them relevant and to have some people to carry the match when it goes down.
Yeah.
So I think Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, as soon as this feud's over, they're going to bounce right back into a feud with somebody else. You'll probably see them work their way up the tag division because they're both extremely talented. And honestly, outside of the American Top Team angle, I really like the Men of the Year kind of
I do too.
thing they're doing.
I just don't like American Top Team. I think I hated the Lambert storyline whenever they were in Impact,
right.
TNA, whatever. I hate it just as much.
It's basically recycled. It's basically a recycled storyline, which is why we kind of hate it, because we see this in other companies happen a lot.
And it's not like it's heel heat. It's just, and maybe this is the new heat in wrestling, but just the go away. I don't want to see you on my TV type heat. But
it's really just boring. It's cliche. It's been done before.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go Inner Circle because it just doesn't make any other sense.
We have the AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament final. Danielson against Miro.
We kind of touched on this last week or 2 weeks ago, I think, technically, because we had totally.
Well, no, it was a week ago because we had our normal show on Thursday.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah, so we touched on this a little bit, and I'm still struggling with this match. This actually fell into my unpopular opinion because I didn't really like the booking in general.
Yeah. I
think no matter who loses, it really hurts them, and whoever wins, it doesn't really help them. Out of the two, I think Miro needs the win. I think Daniel Bryanson is going to or is it Bryan Danielson? I always do that.
I know. Yeah.
Bryan Danielson. I constantly struggle with him because no matter how many times he'll lose, when that time comes, he'll still be over. Fans are still going to be behind him. Him taking a loss is not going to be that big of a deal. And now we run into this problem that, and I don't want to mess up future predictions, but we run into this problem that if Hangman Page were to win, now you got Daniel Bryan versus Hangman Page as your first match.
And where do you go from there?
If Hangman Page loses, you just ruined one of the biggest payoffs and storyline builds that I've seen AEW do. And then you've got Kenny still as the champion, which would answer the question of going back to him and Danielson had a draw. So we'll get an actual winner this time, but the payoff seems so short-lived there compared to what we've built with Hangman Page. So
right.
I'm actually going to take a bravery call here, and I'm going to say Rusev or Miro wins this match.
I'm actually going to agree with you.
I think Miro needs the win. I think it's going to be a really great match. I think it might even have the potential to be match of the night if they do it right.
If they give him enough time.
And I'm going to say Miro gets the win. Bryanson, whatever.
Daniel Bryanson.
I don't like it.
Brian.
I like the Daniel Bryan name better.
Bryan Danielson.
You
just say Bryan. We know who you're talking about.
I think he'll take his first loss, and it'll be like a respectful loss, though. It will be, and it might even have some involvement. You might see the Super Click or somebody come down because they don't want Bryan in the match. You might see Kip. The other thing I could see is Kip Sabian returning, and
that does nothing for Miro, though.
But maybe realigning with him.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And ruining the match for Bryanson again, and doing like a Bryanson Kip Sabian feud while we wait, a little bit longer of time.
See, ultimately, I mean, I'm getting ahead of my predictions, but I think most people are going to predict Paige wins the belt anyway. I say most, not all. I think it's going to set up a match with Miro, and it'll be Hangman Page's first title defense. Paige will win, and I think they go back to this storyline with Miro after losing the TNT Championship match with whatever direction they were going. It's going to bring in Lana, CJ Perry, whatever that looks like, but I think they pivoted once Moxley was written out of storylines, taken out of the tournament and such, and I think that Miro winning here will be, because I think most people are actually going to say that Bryan Danielson wins. I'm going the route of Miro as well. I think that's the route that they go. Basically that means they could pivot away somewhat from what they were going with as far as Miro goes, but it elevates him, and then he takes the L to Hangman Page, and then it goes back to the direction they're going in the first place.
I like what Terry's saying, actually. He says, can CJ work now? Maybe she gets involved. Maybe we see the debut of CJ.
Could be
Perry? Is that her last
CJ
name?
Perry, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe for those of you who may not know that name, Lana.
Which, by the way, I get wherever I read it, WWE doesn't actually own, or they don't have the name Lana trademarked.
Right.
So I guess
so we might see this, obviously not come down to ring with him, but maybe she comes out. It's a shock to Bryanson, and it loses that way. I like that Chris Robinson said God's going to break the turnbuckle again. Maybe, but I think Miro needs to win here more than Bryanson.
Okay, let's tackle the three title matches we've got on the card. We've got the AEW World Tag Team title match, Lucha Brothers against FTR.
Oh, I don't. Tully said something last week that has me scratching my head now.
I know exactly what you're thinking.
He made a statement which just was on live air, so I'm not saying something that was told to us in private. He said that they're building up FTR towards another title run. Now, I'm not saying that it's this one right here. This storyline could go way longer. They're holding the AAA title still right now, which is a cool notch on their belt, and we kind of talked about that. But his exact words were, as I think the goal right now is. Now, he also said he's really far down the creative ladder, so he's just telling you what the thought is.
Yeah,
that's been expressed to him. But he made the statement saying, I really think that we're not done with the FTR boys yet, like that we're going to be building them towards another title run. That has me scratching my head now because I think the Lucha Bro title run has been too small to end it now. Is this a storyline that we continue to carry on after this pay-per-view for another 3 months before another pay-per-view? I don't know. So I'm kind of scratching my head, like, do we really end the Lucha Bros title run this quick and continue the storyline that way? Because now they'd be chasing the titles again versus holding, and kind of the back and forth shift. But you would think they would let them hold the AAA title still if they were going to lose the AEW tag title. So I'm going to say Lucha Bros, but totally definitely had me scratching my head.
There are a few things that had me scratching my head. That was one of them. The second thing was, and I knew about this ahead of time, but totally reiterated it to me during a phone call that I had with him prior to him being on with us last week. FTR was supposed to go to Mexico to do a TV taping for AAA. Mm-hmm. I didn't find out until we were on live with Tully that he said that they didn't end up going.
Right.
I don't know the ins and outs of why that didn't happen. Long story short, the plan was for FTR to do a TV taping. Tully never was going to go, but Vicky Guerrero was actually supposed to go with them and be their manager in AAA.
Huh.
I don't know if that would translate to AEW. I don't know the ins and outs of that. But something about, again, Tully mentioning, setting them up for another title run, as well as that trip to Mexico not happening, kind of has me wondering, maybe they save FTR's trip to Mexico whenever they're double champions.
Could be.
if I had this my way, this should be a title versus title match.
Yep.
They should have put the AAA belts on the line as well.
Yep.
Which it's debatable that you'd have FTR win this match because they beat them for the AAA belts just a month ago, not even. But this is going to be my bravery pick for the evening. I'm actually going, well, I guess Miro could debatably be as well, but I'm actually going FTR to win the AEW Tag Team Championships here. Part of my logic that I haven't mentioned yet is the fact that Dax took the L last night.
Yep.
Again, I don't subscribe to the fact that if you take the win or the loss on the go-home show, that you have to do the opposite on the pay-per-view.
Right.
But it does happen more often than not. So I'm actually, all that factored in, I'm actually going to FTR to win the belts and be double champions here.
It's one of the most intriguing on the card because there's so much that's happened. It's like, I don't know which way you could go where it makes sense, the most sense. Because, like I said, I would have agreed with you if this was title versus title, and then Lucha dropped, to them. Both of them, I kind of could have understood it a little more. Still think it's too short of a run for them compared to other tag title runs, but at least it would have made sense. For them to already have taken the L and then take another L again, got me scratching my head a little bit.
We gotta pick a bravery one every once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
We got to pick the unexpected one.
We both have some bravery picks here.
Just as kind of a recap, so FTR's first run with the tag belts was only about 2 months.
Yep.
Lucha Brothers have only held it about 2 months.
But then if you look at SCU, they held it for close to a year. Had to have been, no, how long was theirs?
SCU only held it for 83 days.
Man, it just felt so much longer than that.
Kenny and Hangman Page held it for 228 days.
And then the Young Bucks held it for...
And then, at that point, the pandemic hit.
Right.
FTR beat them for it, held it for 63 days. Then the Bucks beat them, held it for 302 days. Lucha Brothers, 67 days and counting. So by pay-per-view, 69, 70 days, depending on the mass.
So really the theme right now is that it's more short terms than it is long.
Well, it's an even split at this point,
right,
because 2 teams have held it for less than 3 months. The other 2 teams held it for 8-9 months or longer.
Right.
So we'll see. AEW Women's Championship match. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, against Ty Conti.
I don't see Britt Baker losing this belt until after the TBS champion is crowned, and there's some feuds and run-ins there. I think Britt Baker is probably going to be your longest reigning women's champion. I think she's going to set a record for AEW. Even if she was to lose it before that record's set, I don't think Ty Conti, as good as she is, and I actually am entertained by her, I think she's really good in the ring. I don't think she's the one that beats Britt Baker. I think we've talked about other women's wrestlers who could join the company that could be a potential name. I don't think Ruby Soho is out of that conversation yet of being the person to dethrone Britt Baker. And also because of the Forbidden Door being open, I'm really intrigued by Britt Baker-Deonna Purrazzo storyline, and I don't think you can have that without a belt being involved. And since Deanna's dropped the Women's Impact, I kind of feel like that opens this door now to kind of entertain this idea.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Britt retains, but I do think the match will be good.
I'm going to say Britt retains as well. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they do try to go the storyline route of being longest reigning AEW Women's Champion ever. But if they do that, her title reign is going to have to carry until Double or Nothing of next year. So that's May of 2022.
Yeah.
It's feasible. It's doable, but she's not even, she's halfway there.
Halfway.
But
yep.
To be seen, to be determined. TBD. Main event, AEW World Championship match. Kenny defending against Hangman Page. Not that this is the outcome, but it only makes sense for Hangman Page to win the belt here. The pay-per-view itself is named after him. From the BTE skits that they did, the build only makes sense because if you don't put the belt on Hangman Page here, he's not getting it. Unless it's one of those things where, and I thought about this with the tag title match too, unless it's one of those things where Tony Khan is like, we're going to give you, I'm this awful Tony Khan impression, but if you've ever seen him live, he just yells, we're going to give you a rematch from this past Saturday's Full Gear. And I don't know. It doesn't make sense for that to happen, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility just because, let's say Kenny wins it through dirty, underhanded tactics, if you will. Wouldn't shock me at all for Tony to be like, okay, well, you're defending it against Hangman Page again, and then Hangman wins it on Dynamite. I think the payoff is at Full Gear. I think storyline-wise, it only makes sense here. But, which that's my prediction, by the way. I think Hangman Page wins it here. I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility that they would hold until, the following Dynamite, which I think it would suck to do it at that point because your momentum is here. Now, that being said, if I pull up All Elite Wrestling's list of events, one thing that is not being talked about, the upcoming Wednesday Dynamite is in Hangman Page's backyard, so to speak. It's in Virginia. It's in Norfolk, Virginia, November 17th. That's why I bring it up. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Hangman Page loses on Full Gear, but then they put the belt on him in his home, with his home crowd, if you will. So just throwing that out there. I still think it happens at Full Gear. I think he comes out as world champion already at his home, with his home crowd there, but so that's just the intrigue of this match.
If you would have asked me last week how I felt about this, I was pretty clear on my answer. Since then, I've had a few factors that came up that just got me thinking. Bully Ray mentioned this on their Busted Open podcast, that he said he really felt like this feud needed more bad blood. That there's not been enough that's taken place. And as I started to reflect on it, he's like, you know what? There really hasn't been that like final, what would you call it, knife in the back or whatever. There really hasn't been that final moment that really makes this feel like a gory, feud, this blood boiling over type feud. Mm-hmm. If we look back when they were tag champions and we started to kind of see the dissension, we still never really saw like the brawl. We still never really saw like the I hate you and you hate me kind of breakup. It was more just like they decided to go their separate ways. They both entered a tournament, which Kenny ended up, winning. Eventually, Adam Page is off TV with the injury.
Yeah.
We never really get this like major payoff. So Bully got me thinking, because when he said that, I was like, you know what, you're right. This feud isn't as boiling over as it's kind of been made out to be. Is that there was so much more that they either could have capitalized on in the moment or that we could be doing now before the match payoff.
Absolutely.
And so that got me thinking. I was like, maybe there is more to this that needs to happen, and Full Gear is just another notch in the storyline before they actually have the payoff at Revolution or wherever the case may be. So that was factor number one that came up, was that.
Yep.
Factor number two is I was thinking the same thing, is that I saw in a couple groups that I'm in, Hangman Page's hometown is Virginia, and that they're going to be there right after Full Gear. So it scratches your head thinking, well, there's no way they could have him lose this match because he's going to be in his hometown the next week. And, you bring up a good point that I didn't think about. Well, he could lose and they have a rematch on Dynamite, but then I feel like you missed the big moment. I feel like the pay-per-views are meant for the big moments. We do like the occasional...
Well, the big moment for the fans, but
right.
You also got to look at it from the wrestler, the talent's perspective, because it might mean more to him if it's...
I get
just throwing that out.
I get it. I'm still thinking, but the product's for the fans.
Well, no, I agree.
And so when we're thinking about the big payoff, if it doesn't happen there, it almost feels lackluster the week after to do it on a Dynamite. Again, we like the one-off spin when it does happen, but this just feels like it needs to happen at Full Gear. The third thing that sticks out to me, though, and I mentioned it in a prior prediction, is the debacle of Daniel Bryan and Miro. Or Bryan Danielson, sorry.
Yeah.
I try to stick to their current names. Because if Bryan Danielson wins that match, which we both went bravery pick in our opinion with Miro, but if Bryan Danielson wins that match, I just don't see a world where Hangman Page wins that, and then you do Hangman Page versus Danielson and have Danielson lose in that match, or have Hangman Page lose his first title defense. I'm really struggling with that. So that's another factor that pops up. So that's why, based off of my pick that I said Miro, I am, because I'm wearing the shirt too. I don't know if y'all can see it, but Hangman Page is my shirt choice today. I am going to go with Hangman Page as my selection. I think that even though I agree with Bully Ray that there was so much more they could have done, that they should have done, I think that you could say coulda, shoulda, woulda, all you want. The payoff is still now, and I think that that's what needs to happen. I think it's going to, Hangman Page's return was a really big pop, and I think people are going to go nuts for him as champion, and it would finally be what we would say is probably one of the non-WWE guys to finally get their shot to be champion. I know Kenny's not one of those, but we kind of assumed Kenny would get his shot at some point. We knew the Young Bucks would get the tag titles at some point. Cody Rhodes is probably the only other one that we would say that, hasn't gotten his. I mean, he was TNT champion, but never hasn't been world champion. So Hangman Page is the only one outside of a tag title run hasn't really had his moment in the sun yet. And even as his tag title run, I didn't really feel like it was his moment in the sun. And so I'm excited for it. I really think that's going to be what happens. If they swerve us,
wouldn't be the first time.
Yep.
So last question. This is not obviously on the card as a match prediction, and you guys in the chat thread, give us your thoughts. Do we see any sort of debut, any sort of return at any point on the card, top to bottom?
So this one, I've been thinking about this all week because, and Jay alluded to it during our Q&A when we were talking about potential signing, destinations. There's so much saturation right now. It's an oversaturated market is what he called it, of wrestlers, free agents. Now, a lot of them have recently that have been released have 90-day non-compete clauses and things that cause them not to be able to debut this quickly. But if we're going to talk about Ring of Honor guys, all could be debuting right now. So there's that option. We've just heard it here today. It won't be Jay.
Or will it?
But I think the big name that we're surfacing around would be Bray Wyatt. And if he does, and where? What storyline? Obviously, an intriguing one would be the Malachi Black storyline.
Yep.
With darkness, and maybe that's where the character change happens is via this storyline. So that one intrigues me. I mean, nothing says Bray Wyatt though like interrupting a title match at the end of the night. Whoever the victor is, it doesn't even have to be the next opponent for Hangman Page or Kenny, whoever comes out as champ. But for the lights to go out and whatever character he's going to be comes out and is standing there in the ring staring him down, and there's not even a brawl. It's just like a point at the belt, and off air we go, and it just has the wrestling fans buzzing.
Yeah.
So as far as answering your question, I don't really know. We've had so many opportunities now that his compete clause has been over. We didn't see him debut at any shows. What was it, the past 2 weeks that he's been up for grabs now, technically?
3, maybe.
No Impact, because Impact was the other rumored destination. So he has no desire to do house shows, indie shows, any of those things. So we only have a handful of places for him to go. He's not been on Impact. He's not, no rumors. No, Impact really likes to broadcast it, too, when they're going to have somebody show up.
Yeah.
Not been on Impact. AEW seems like a great landing spot for him. I just don't know. If it happens, I really don't know where. I would be more intrigued by the Malachi, by him getting involved somehow with the lights going out. Even if that match ends in a weird way, him and Malachi Black going at each other or with each other, whatever, how that happens. But I think it's more Bray Wyatt fashion for the finale of the night after the match is over. This is where my mind goes. Hangman Page wins the match. It's this big celebration. Everyone's going nuts. Boom, lights go off. People start, chanting. People are going nuts. And then you get an even bigger reaction because here's Wyndham is what his name says right now, which I love. Here's Wyndham standing in the ring, pointing at the belt when the lights come back on. And then everything goes off air.
So here's where I'm at. I'm going to burst your bubble a little bit. And Thomas alluded to this. Bray's actually filming a movie. That's not to say he can't be there, but it makes it a little less likely. I don't know what I don't know what current COVID restrictions are when traveling. I know the movie he's filming. I'm pretty sure he's in California, which is one of the most COVID restricted states out there. I know you can travel from state to state, obviously, but I don't know what the protocol is if you leave the state, come back on a movie set. I just don't know. But I don't think we see Bray Wyatt. I'm even going as far to say I don't think we see a return or a debut to close out the show. I know there's rumors of Okada and rumors of, this and that. I think Hangman Page gets his moment, and that's how we go off air. I think we see 2 debuts, they'd be debuts. You already alluded to one. I think we see Deonna Purrazzo appear at the end of the match. I think Britt Baker retains, and then we see Deonna Purrazzo come out.
Yeah.
And
little face-off.
Yeah. I didn't allude to this, but this went into my predictions for the tag title match as well. I think FTR wins, and then we see the Briscoes.
I like it. It's hard because I've not seen anything that alludes to it, and a lot of times there's those little Easter eggs,
I've just seen little things on social media here and there, like mostly on Twitter, but it's nothing that's been like in your face kind of thing.
It's again with the Forbidden Door and all the releases from WWE specific, we kind of know when we'll see a WWE debut. We know the big pay-per-views. We know kind of how they creatively work. So those are usually more to be expected. We probably won't see anything from them until Royal Rumble, if anyone was to debut at this point. But then we look at all these other shows and Forbidden Door opportunities and stuff, and it's like, man, it's like any given week, any given pay-per-view, it could be somebody somewhere somehow. So I'm intrigued, and I would really love to see what happens. I would love to see one big shocker. Even you have 2, what I would consider 2 big shockers.
Yeah.
But I would like to see one big shocker. I think I'm more intrigued by the Briscoes because they can do Deonna Purrazzo whenever.
Yeah.
But the Briscoes just feels like it needs to happen like 2 months ago. Like it just feels like it needs to happen, whether it's with FTR or the Lucha Bros. I think you could see them come out regardless of who wins that match.
And I suppose you got the Briscoes come out and cost FTR the match, which would still set up the feud, but it just feels like it'd feel bigger with FTR being double champions.
And why can't you have a feud that has 3 or 4 teams involved?
You could. Totally could. Guys, we are going to wrap things up. And for those of you that are a part of our social media platforms, we promised 3 giveaways. I said multiple giveaways, but we are doing 3 giveaways. I promised a belt giveaway, and I'm not going to disappoint. So if you want to be entered into this last giveaway, please reply with the word BELT, B-E-L-T. And we're going to do that randomizer here in about 2 minutes. We're running a little long. I apologize, but we do thank you for joining us today, for hanging out with us. If you just joined us recently or joined us after the fact of having Jay Lethal on, you need to go back and watch it after we've gone off the air. Super fun interview, and he is going to be coming back with us within the next month. Those are his words, not mine. Within the next month, he will be back on with us. And it'll probably be very viewer Q&A centric, at least the fan mail segment. But I think it'd be fun to have him on as a co-host more so than a guest. So we'll see. We'll keep you guys posted. We'll keep you updated. But again, reply with the word BELT, B-E-L-T. And I failed to mention this during our first 2 giveaways. We do cover shipping for free within the lower 48 states. If you live in Alaska, Hawaii, or otherwise internationally, you would have to be responsible for some of the shipping costs. So I'll give you guys about another minute. And while you're replying, I want to remind you guys about our watch party this upcoming Saturday. Again, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, AW Full Gear Watch Party. Please give us a follow on Twitch and a subscribe if it'll let you. I don't know if we've hit that tier or not, if subscribing is an option at this point. But you can still give us a follow, twitch.tv/Going Broadway Podcast. If you've not already, please give us a follow. It should allow for notifications once you followed us, so you can be notified when we go live, whether it's for our podcasts, for our watch parties, and we'll keep you updated as far as where we're at with Jay Lethal's next appearance on the show. I'm going to close it up. So What if after Punk's win, lights go out and Kenta comes out and hits Punk with the GTS? Hey,
the possibilities are endless.
That would be a return because Kenta's already been on AEW,
and he's a champion now.
Are you going to announce the other upcoming guests next week? Next week I'll have some info on a particular future guest. You already know Jay Lethal's coming back on with us within the next month. So between now and I don't know where my calendar is on my laptop.
So sometime
here.
in December.
Yeah, I would say
probably mid-December.
I'd venture to say probably like on the December 9th show because we already have something lined up for the December 2nd show, which again we'll
find out next week.
We'll let you know next week.
It's an exciting one.
Not going to give any hints. Not going to give any clues. You'll just have to join us next week. Super excited about it. Besides the unnamed guest and besides Jay, we do have a couple others that we haven't confirmed yet, but they have said that they would be interested in doing it.
It's all about timing. Everything's timing right now. So,
are we? Oh, Chris asks a good question. Are we doing a show on Thanksgiving? We are not. So, that week to be determined, but we may not have a show the week of Thanksgiving. If we have one, it'll be Wednesday, but we're still trying to figure that out. If we have one, it'll be Wednesday the 24th, but we'll let you guys know. Nothing is confirmed or unconfirmed at this point. Well, I guess it is unconfirmed.
It's unconfirmed at the
moment. It is unconfirmed. But yeah, we will not have a show on Thanksgiving, but if we do want Thanksgiving week, it'll have to be Wednesday the 24th, but we will let you guys know for sure. And let's do this belt giveaway and spoiler alert, Lunch Lady is co-hosting. Not quite. I'm just making sure all these, a special cooking with Cole podcast. Matt, I'm sorry. Matt already closed up the entries a couple minutes ago. So, excuse me. I'm just making sure we got all these populated over. I think we are. Hang on. I think we're good to go. All right, guys, let's do this. Oh, hang on. Something went wrong with my screen. Dead air. Sorry, guys. Got it. Okay. Let's do this. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And on the 10th click will be our winner. I haven't even set the belt yet, have I?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you here in just a second. Click number 10 is Tasselhoff 92.
What a great name. Tasselhoff 92. Congrats.
That sounds like a YouTube or Twitter name. It looks like it's YouTube. So Tasselhoff 92, congratulations. You have to contact us through our Going Broadway Podcast Facebook page to claim your winnings. And Tasselhoff 92 is the winner of a brand new replica Ring of Honor belt of your choice. So what you need to do is go to WrestlingSuperstore.com, and there is a drop-down menu. And if you connect with me on Facebook and you have trouble finding it, I can help you out. But if you go to WrestlingSuperstore.com, and on the left side, there is a menu path that says Championship Wrestling Belts. You just have to click on that and then go to Ring of Honor Replica Belts. It's the very first option. You have 5 different belts to choose from. You can have a Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship, a Ring of Honor World Television Championship, Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship, Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team Championship, or a Ring of Honor, a Women of Honor Championship belt. So you have those 5 to choose from.
Robert Stokes says he's Tasselhoff.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true or not. But.
Well, you'll have to somehow confirm that to us, like take a screenshot from your YouTube homepage, like where you've logged in and everything. So yeah, just confirm that in some way, shape, or form. Message us through the Going Broadway Podcast Facebook page. Chris Robinson, you're not Tasselhoff. Guys, in all seriousness, I know jabs and jokes aside, please be honest with me. If it is you, I need you to somehow take a screenshot of your YouTube page, like your homepage where it has your username and everything. Prove to me it's you. And this is not just for this instance. This is all instances going forward. But message us through the Going Broadway Podcast Facebook page, and we'll get you hooked up with your belt. So that being said, guys, this has been one of the longest podcasts we've ever had, but we sincerely thank you for joining us and for tuning in, hanging out with us, hanging out with Jay. Unfortunately, it's long past that time. Cole, any final thoughts?
Guys, as always, thank you for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. It was a great time hanging out with Jay. We got to scratch the surface just a little bit. Don't forget about that watch party this Saturday. It's going to be a great night. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm coming with all the fruit snacks.
All
so
the fruit snacks.
Make sure that you're here, and you'll see me smashing a whole box of those.
Real quick, and make sure Twitch exclusively only. Yep. Twitch.tv/Going Broadway Podcast. Will not be on Facebook, will not be on YouTube, will not be on Twitter. Twitch only. I know some of you guys said you're having problems on Twitch. The only thing I can say is if you're trying to cast Twitch from a computer or a phone to a TV, I've had issues doing that as well. So if that is an issue, I would just try to get it up on a laptop, a desktop computer, a phone, a tablet, install the app. I wouldn't try to cast it to a TV just because we've had issues with that on our end as well.
That's right. So we are switching it up, and we're going to be twitching it up. So make sure that you join us this Saturday on Twitch for our watch party. It's going to be a great time. We always have a lot of fun with those. Don't forget to go get your Going Broadway Podcast merch. It is on our website. You can go there on our shop, and it is there. Shirts are $19.99 plus shipping and applicable taxes. Hoodies are $39.99 plus shipping and applicable taxes. And all of our SKUs are on there. You can go check those out. They are comfortable. You need them. You want them. I promise you will enjoy them once you have them. So make sure you go do that. And, yeah, we got some exciting things coming up the next few weeks. You're going to want to be involved with that. But, guys, as always, it's that time. It's your favorite time. It's your favorite thing in the entire world.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you Saturday.
This podcast was a presentation of LightUpMedia.fm.